Hello everybody and welcome. Welcome to our question and answer webinar. I'm Eva Smith, even though if you're seeing me on the screen it says Michael Robbins. I'm hoping some of his wisdom will rub off because I've got his name there. But I also want to introduce you to Jocelyne. And Jocelyne, you're up next.
Hello everyone.
So you've met Jocelyne, and I want you to know that there is a crew of people, a good panel of people in the background helping us out, and some of you may or may not know them. I will introduce them by first names just so that at least you become aware of some of our wonderful, wonderful administration people that help out. There's BL, there's Joe, there is Kay, there
Hi.
is Brett. Have I left anybody out? I hope not. So I guess we're ready to begin, and we have you all right now on mute. So the way this particular kind of webinar works is you see a little sort of a window, a panel, and on one side of it you will see an orange arrow or an orange block with a white arrow in it, a microphone, something that looks like a camera, and you might have a hands up or a hands down button. It's not in front of my screen, but I know you have it as well. There's a hand up and a hand down. When the hand is up, that means that you would like to ask a question. You're raising your hand, very much like in a classroom. When you've completed, the idea is to have the hand facing down again. So why don't you practice that for the first few moments? Raising your hand, and my people in the background can see if this is being done correctly. Raise your hands, and then put your hands back down again. And let me hear from my helpers there. Do you see that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Only three.
Everybody, that's perfect.
No, we only have two hands up at the moment.
Well, there was more up before,
Three.
but yes, only two now. They put them down.
Okay, so you get the idea, guys.
Keep them up. Keep them up.
Okay, let's try it again. They're still checking. So keep your hands up.
Okay. People.
And now.
Wait.
So you say when.
Alex, Brent, Inda have their hands down. Mary Bell, Ray also have their hands down.
Yeah.
So raise your hands,
Alex is
guys.
up.
Getting better. Brent,
Raise up.
Inda, and Mary need to raise their hands. Well, maybe they're not there. It looks like
Okay.
all the rest of you figured it out. Your hands are now up.
All right. Now raise your put your hands back down again. So you click the button to put your hands down.
Right.
Now, right now, it looks like everybody's been unmuted.
No, they're still muted.
No, they're all muted. Okay.
Okay, Inta has her hand up, and then now it's back down. That's good.
Okay. So now the next thing worth discussing here is that there is looks like a microphone near your names, and it might be an arrow through it or a line through it. That shows that you have been muted. The reason we do this is that if we were to unmute everybody, we get a cacophony of sound coming from the computers. Sometimes it's a screeching sound, sometimes it's like bubbles in the water, and sometimes it is just static. But in any event, it's loud, it's distracting, and we get to hear every little thing that goes on in the rooms that you're in. So it has worked out much better if we have you all muted. We can unmute you at the end so that we can all say goodbye to one another. But as we go along, if you have any questions and want to make comments or ask, please use the raise your hand, and our helpers in the back will notice that, and they will unmute you and allow you to speak. How's that? Everybody understanding how that works? Good. I'm glad you are. So if there are no questions before we start, or maybe there are, so go right ahead and ask a question if you have a question to ask about the procedure. We want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with this new way of handling the classroom, so to speak, right? It's like a classroom. So are there any hands up? I guess no one is telling me that there's a hand up. That means we're ready to go. That being the case, we asked you if you had any questions to please feel free to email them to us ahead of time. And we did get one question, and it was from Alexandra. So thank you, Alexandra. I'll just, without reading the whole question, I'll just put it out, and Jocelyne and I will offer a variety of comments on the question, and then we want to open it up to have maybe a bit of a group discussion on that, because the question warrants that. It's a really good question. And basically, what Alex is asking is if the rays, as she's learning about the rays, and the cycle of the rays have an effect on what goes on in history. In other words, can we assign ray periods to historical events? Have I got that pretty well in a nutshell without going through the whole question? I hope so. So the first thing I would say is yes. Yes, and. So yes, there are ray cycles. Some of them last longer than other ray cycles. But there's also astrological cycles. And we can't discuss one without discussing the other. So both go hand in hand. So, for example, we have been reading, for those of you that have been reading any of these blue books, we are told that we're moving out of the 6th ray energy into the 7th ray energy. We're moving out of the Piscean age, which the 2500 age started around the time of the inauguration of the Pisces era, and that would be the time of the Christ. So as it moved from BC to AD, and it lasts roughly 2,500 years, and that's every age lasts that long. But that is part of a much, much greater age of 25,000 years of what was considered the Piscean age. Both these are coinciding in its exit. They are both exiting around the same time and ushering in a new era and a whole new cycle called the Age of Aquarius. So with that comes the energies or the rays associated with the Age of Aquarius, which would be the 2nd ray and the 5th ray, but also the 7th ray. So we have all these new energies coming in a different way. The 7th ray is coming in really, really strongly because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So we've got the 7th ray energy coming in, and little by little the 6th ray energy leaving and going out. So how do we look at that? That within this much, much larger cycle of the Piscean era, age, 25,000 years, there were many littler and smaller cycles of rays coming in. We know that during the Piscean age, the 2,500 years, which was the inauguration of the Christ, the beginning of that, we had all this change in religion and all the religious wars and all the religious events that happened, whether it was the Crusaders, whether it was the Spanish Inquisition, whether it was what happened in Germany with the changes in Protestantism and Catholicism, and all those things that happened even around the Middle Ages with respect to religion, all were parts of that 6th ray energy that kind of governs religion. But within the larger cycle, there were many smaller cycles. And we saw, for example, the onset of the industrial age. And that industrial age would be what ray, everybody? The 5th ray. So the 5th ray, which is the ray of technology, the ray of the mind, the ray of industry, all of that brought about changes in the way in which we still live, because the 5th ray is still in manifestation. And that just gives you an overall miniature idea of the ray. The other thing is, I pulled out this book. It's called The Inner Side of History. Can you all see that? Inner Side of History? It's by Charles Demotte, and he did an excellent job of using all the Tibetan's material and categorizing it and giving us events and giving us periods of time in history, even with root races and cycles and cultures, and did a very, very fine job of talking about that. There is one paragraph here I'd like to read, and then if Jocelyne would like to add something, we can move on to Jocelyne. And that's just a very short paragraph. It says that HPB, that's Blavatsky, in an article written for the Theosophist, because she was part of the Theosophical Society, presents a theory of cycles that was worked out by Dr. E. Zaz, who published his findings in the Prussian Journal of Statistics sometime towards the end of the 19th century. Drawing upon the Hindu theory of cycles, Dr. Zaz believed that history could be studied by examining cycles and durations of, and this is the important point that I want to point out, is 250, 500, 700, and 1,000 years. He states that if we divide the map of the old world into 6 parts, Eastern, Central, Western Asia, Eastern and Western Europe, and Egypt, then it is easy to see that a distinctive wave passes over these regions every 250 years. And that's not the first time that I have come across that. So that's an interesting thing for us to keep in the back of our minds, that maybe smaller cycles of rays can come in every 250 years or multiples of 250 years. Okay, so any questions on this? Let's have some questions, and Jocelyne can pipe in as well. Remember, raise your hand. So, Ray. Unmute Ray. Okay. Hello, Ray.
Hi, Eva. Could you give me the name of that book again?
Yes,
you were referring to?
It's called The Inner Side of History, and it is by Charles Demotte, D-E-M-O-T-T-E. There's also a wonderful book by Phillip Lindsay called The Inner Side of Humanity. And I know there's a link to that online, and he sells his books at the various conferences, and maybe can even be purchased off his website. I'm not too sure. But he also goes into great detail about the various cycles.
Eva?
These are all wonderful research books.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's called Hidden History of Humanity, Phillip's book.
Maybe you're right on that.
I sent Alexandra the reference, but I can't look it up now because it's in my mail.
Right. And I'll be happy to actually put the link in the student forum, and anyone who wants that link, it'll come through in your campus digest, and you can use it, not whatever, you know. Is that okay? We'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to mute you again, and I see that there's another hand. Asha. Okay. Hello, Asha. Asha, you there? Asha. Okay, we'll move on to Alex and just give Asha a moment to come back. Hello, Alex.
Hi, thank you very much. I got those attachments, but I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. I'm very grateful. But do I understand if I have a look at these books, they're going to put all this into perspective?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Now, you asked a question in your email whether we could direct you to anywhere that the Tibetan actually talks about this. The Tibetan, in his very wonderful third-ray style, is all over. It's all over, and it's scattered in so many books. you know. And
Yeah.
Jocelyne has done an excellent job with the CD, and I think she sent you a document where she's pulled out references to cycles.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah, but it all depends on what word we plug in. You plug in a ray cycle, so she may have found that. It's not an easy answer to say, oh, go to such and such a page.
No.
That's what it was like when we went to school, right? The reference was on such and such a page, you know, in a particular book. The Tibetan doesn't write that way. So he makes it a little tougher
I didn't think
for us.
so. I didn't
right.
think so. But what you said about the Industrial Revolution, that was really important because I thought that was fifth ray. So that clarifies that for me. That's wonderful.
And there's so much more.
Yeah, I was trying to fit in, I think, as I wrote to you about the exiting of the sixth ray, because I have been particularly been looking at the Salem witch trials and studying the crucible. I was just looking at that whole colonization of North America, that wanting to be free of religion, but the religion digging its roots in, and I was just wondering if that had to do with that exiting of the sixth ray. And
I wouldn't say it has so much to do with the exiting of the sixth ray. It is the sixth ray. You see, the sixth ray is very the sixth ray is very militant in its beliefs, and it's ruled by Mars. And Mars is Martian, and Mars is the male symbol of aggression and forward movement. And if we just think of that, it affects the solar plexus. That's where our emotional energy is. And if you combine all of that, the sixth ray is a very emotional sign. One fights for their beliefs. One fights for what they think is the right. The right is, the right and being righteous is very sixth ray. So when you think of humanity fighting for their strong beliefs, can you see that it's not the exiting of the ray? It is the ray itself. It's the ray itself. And that's why we have the wars.
Okay, so fundamentalism is so strong now.
That's right.
So is that related to the end of the sixth ray, or is it just more sixth ray? It seems to be particularly strong.
There's two things here. There's two things here. Yes, fundamentalism is sixth ray. It's what it is, right? It's the strong belief in a particular ism or a particular belief thing. So you see that. But at the same time, there's a sense that people who relate and resonate to this vibration and to this energy feel almost like it's the last kick at the can. I don't know what it is. I meant. Yeah, I don't know what it is that they feel, but they feel an urgency to make it more so, because it's almost like it wants to wither. It wants to change. The waves of change are in the air. And hence, they want to dig their heels in even stronger. They want to emphasize what they believe in all the more. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that religiously throughout the world. Different parts of the world, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's here in North America. People, the fundamentalists really, really want so much for everyone to buy into what they are offering, that they are so energetic about it, so emotional about that.
Yeah. Well, similarly, with Ray 2, it says, excuse me, coming into manifestation around 1575. I just wondered if there was some manifestation in world events or history that would that would tie in with that we could say that's the influence of Ray 2.
Ray 2 is a little harder.
Ray 5. Yeah,
it's a little harder
Ray 5
to see.
Being the Industrial Revolution. Yeah.
Ray 2 is a little harder to see because everything is tinged and colored by Ray 2 in the solar system. So everything is tinged and colored. It's the overriding ray that affects love, consciousness, soul, even though you have souls on all rays, it's still the umbrella ray. So anywhere where we see a mothering, a loving one nation to another, the various help organizations, have they not sort of sprung up as of late, the latter part of the century? That is very much the second ray that we see, even though sometimes countries do this for selfish reasons. It's still a good thing that they do, and that might be the ray of their soul or the ray of their country or the second ray in general. People are bound together when there are emergencies in the world. It's amazing how they help out. They all of a sudden feel the need to help out. That is love. That is second ray. That is inclusivity.
Right.
So Jocelyne, would you like to add anything? I kind of feel like I'm taking over here.
No, I'm cheating a little bit, and I went to the internet looking for historical events for 1575. And I don't have time to go through it here, but there seem to have been a lot of humanitarian movements here. And in India, in Spain, anyway. So the internet can be very useful to pinpoint historical events according to certain dates. But I would expect that there would be very strong inclusiveness, a demonstration of inclusiveness somewhere where the second ray is ascending in its power. So we might look for events like this in history to see how there might have been a shift in inclusiveness and tolerance. Right now, for example, with the sixth ray, there's still so much polarization. You know, it's not gone yet, and it won't be gone for quite some time because it seems to be going through the final thrashing of expressing its power and polarizing so many groups, one against the other, creating so much pain and suffering and cruelty. So I hope the seventh ray starts to have an influence very soon because we're going through a pretty strong sixth ray influence, I believe, still right now.
Yeah.
I just want to add to that just because that sixth ray is sort of waning and it's on its way out does not mean that people will not be born with sixth ray in their constitution. There's still going to be a lot of sixth ray personalities, especially those living in sixth ray countries like the United States. There is still going to be a lot of souls on the sixth ray. That doesn't change that quickly. You see, it takes centuries for that to start shifting a little bit and changing a little bit. There's still a lot of souls that need to come in and work things out. Through the sixth ray. And the sixth ray governs our astral field, so it governs our emotions. So that sixth ray, irrespective of whether it's waning, is still going to be around. It's still there.
Yes.
And that's a good thing, you know. Every ray is good. Now, we've just painted a very negative picture of the sixth ray. I mean, we can talk about some of the positives because there's no such thing as a bad ray. It's just how we appropriate the ray, what we do with it, and how it moves through our own filters that conditions and determines the way in which it is being used in the world. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah? Yes, it does. Yes, I did some research myself about major events in those times. For example, Martin Luther's Reformation that took place after the manifestation of ray seconds. I was just trying to, link it up. Shakespeare lived at that time. I don't know if it's relevant. When Ray 3 manifested in early 1400s, that's the time of the Spanish Inquisition, Joan of Arc, Leonardo da Vinci.
So there may have been a little mini cycle of sixth ray during that period of time, because there was really, really strong aggression with the sixth ray. There's also the Renaissance period. The fourth ray had cycled in during the time of the Renaissance, and we saw such beauty and such art and music come through the various composers, artists, etc. That was a fourth ray period.
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose I understand it most clearly with the fifth ray in its relation to the Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
But it's been really interesting. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And what we'll do
so
is
much.
I'm going to put you back on mute, and we'll
Thank
see if
you.
we can work with some of the other hands that are up, okay? In case there's still ongoing discussion on this subject, which is a great subject.
Okay, so I put my hand down now, right?
Yes. Thank you very much. Click to mute. Okay. So, Asha, are you there? All right, I'm going to put Asha back on mute, and I see Adrian. I see Adrian's hand. Okay. Adrian?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, hello and welcome.
Oh, you can hear me. I've been writing a question because I didn't think my computer had a mic.
Amazing.
How amazing is that? Okay, so I'll read what I wrote. So there are ray cycles like we've been talking about, I wrote. We're strongly influenced by the second ray because of the solar second ray influence. But I haven't really grasped how they influence each other. So how the second ray is influencing, for example, the fifth ray in the Industrial Revolution or the seventh ray that's coming in. Of course, because I have no experience of what it's like without the second ray influencing them. So I'm just wondering, you know, what.
I do want to mention for those of you who are being introduced to the rays for the first time, or want to know more about the rays, on our website we have teaching webinars on the rays, one per ray, so there'll be 7 different webinars, and I really urge all of you to listen to them if you have the time. They're wonderful. They're filled with so much information about the rays, and it's just good material there. So let's go back to your question. It's not so much that the second ray influences the other rays. I would word it a little differently. All the rays are part of the overriding ray, which is the second ray. And so therefore everything is tinged by love. And love is the mandate for this particular solar system. We all, on any level, need to learn to love, truly to love from the heart, to know what brotherhood is, to know what inclusivity is, to know truly what love is. Not sentimental love, not the kind of love that says, I need you, I want you, I have to have you, but truly what it means to love one another. So everything is tinged by that. Within that larger umbrella, there's all these other cycles. If you can just, I don't know if you can see my finger, and all these cycles are circles. So within a larger circle, you might have a smaller circle where it touches the larger circle, and then it's much smaller within that. You might have another one that's in between those two sizes, and all of that would represent a particular period of time that the ray stays in manifestation. We are told that right now ray 4 is not really that strong in manifestation. That doesn't mean that there aren't any fourth ray minds or fourth ray influence. Of course there is, because humanity is governed by the fourth ray. It's just that during the Renaissance period we saw all this art, we saw all this music, we saw all that fourth ray stuff come through. We don't see the same quality of artistry come through now that we did then, because at that time the fourth ray was really, really strong. We've seen the effects of the sixth ray. We are seeing the effects of the fifth ray. The seventh ray, which is the incoming energy, is having its effect here too, and it's causing us to become much more aware of the ethers. We're going to eventually, our eyes may change over hundreds of years to accommodate a different way in which we are seeing So our eyes may change. We might be able to see etherically. We're much more aware of, it is said that during that period of time, the soul will be a discovered thing. And the ray of discovery is 7 and 5. Well, 5 is still going to be in manifestation, and 7 is coming in stronger, so that you put the two together, and maybe we will actually be able to discover the soul so that everybody can see that the soul actually does exist. But all of that is colored by love. Every ray needs to express its love in whatever fashion that it does. See, the 5th ray, which is about technology, science, the mind, it doesn't mean that it can't express love. It still needs to do that. The 4th ray, which is art, which is literature, which is dance, through its field of expression, it needs to express love. So no matter how you look at it, love needs to be expressed through every one of the rays. That's how it influences the rays.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Yes,
Jocelyne?
I have nothing to add, Eva.
Okay.
Lovely. I'll put my hand down. Thank you.
Okay. So, other questions? Do I see? Oh, Asha's still not with us. Come on, people. This is a good time to ask questions. Doesn't matter what level or how deep or not so deep. It doesn't matter. Just ask. Michael is asking a question. Hello, Michael, and welcome. I can barely hear you, Michael.
Oh, I hope this is better.
Much better. Thank you.
Okay, good. When speaking of rays and manifestation, doesn't this refer to subjective manifestation? Are not the rays always an objective manifestation?
Good question. And what I tried to point out before is that they're not always in objective manifestation. For example, the 4th ray, it's going to be coming in to objective manifestation. They're always available and they're always there. Some are, the cycle is much stronger because it's the energy is being brought forward more because the cycle is there. Other times, like now, that 4th ray is still there, but it isn't producing what it's capable of producing because the cycle hasn't yet started. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I would say that this whole question is related to the law of periodicity, that our planetary logos has his own rhythms, his own periods of manifestation or quiescence in terms of quality that is being expressed. So I assume, I'm speculating, that it is quite different. The remanifestations, the cycles are very different from planet to planet. So the overarching governing of this particular coming and going of remanifestation, it is governed by the law of periodicity. So that's a deep study of cosmic cycles, but Michael, you might be interested in looking into that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to point out just a couple of little things that you can all relate to and with, and that had to do with the ages. So when we had the age of Taurus, that was the time of Egypt's rise to power. And Taurus, its representative is the bull. And if you think back, of one of the gods for Egypt was definitely the bull. And when Moses went up to the mountaintop, and brought down the 10 Commandments, what ended up happening? The Israelites all had created this golden calf, this golden bull, and they were all starting to worship this golden bull. So you could see that the end of the age of Taurus was meant to leave, and the new age of Aries was meant to start, but there was a turning back to the old, just like even now, the age of Aquarius is meant to start, but the old is hanging in there, and there's a stronger, one can say a stronger energetic, because no one wants to let go of the old. Well, we saw that in history during the time of the age of Taurus. Now, the new dispensation was brought in by Moses, and it was the time of Aries. And when you think of Passover, the Israelites, before they left, were told that they had to use the blood of the ram, and the ram is the symbol for Aries, over their lentils, over their doors, so that the angel of death would pass over, and hence you get the name Passover, those particular homes, and not kill the firstborn. So then we have the whole the lamb, the sacrificial lamb. You have the ram, and all those other symbols that came along with. This is the time of the Old Testament. You know, you have the shofar, which is the ram's horn that the Jewish people blow on during you know, the high holidays. So you have all these symbols that have to do with the ram, and that was the period of time of you know, what Moses brought the Jewish people out of Egypt. And then of course you have Pisces, the next era, and that the Christ or Jesus inaugurated that era. And we have heard stories of the fishes, you know, the fishes being associated with Jesus, and how he was able to walk on water. So you have the water element, which is what Pisces represents, and you have the idea now of the duality, the two fishes, which is another way of seeing Pisces. You have the two fishes, and they're bound together in the middle. So you have the one which represents the personality, the other one represents the soul. Well, in the past, you never even spoke about soul. It wasn't until the Piscean age that distributes both the sixth ray and the second ray that we start talking about soul and about love. See? So the ages and the astrological influence has so much to do with history, well as they go hand in hand.
That's a marvelous tie-in.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like that. Okay. Any other questions on this area or any other area?
Would you try, Eva, this is Jill. Would you try unmuting Asha again? She thinks she might have her microphone working.
Okay, there we go. Asha?
Hi, Eva. Can you hear me now?
Barely. You need to really shout.
Is that better?
Yes, much better, Asha. And how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for your time and for this opportunity. I've been pondering about the Great Invocation, and you know, as
the Great Invocation?
Right, and as being.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The Great Invocation, yes, and it talks about a time when the door to evil would be sealed, and what is your understanding of when that might occur? I've had some discussions and been researching it a little bit, and when is your understanding of, you know, the time frame of when that might happen, and how would we know if it has already happened? What are we? Is it going to come through another channel like Alice Bailey? I mean, what does the Tibetan say about this?
Okay, well, I think you were at the last Waisak festival that we had here in the Toronto area, and I gave a really good, well, I thought it was a good talk on where evil dwells. And one of the things that we talked about was how hierarchy thought that the door to where evil dwells was just about sealed at the end of the Second World War, or the Second World and the First World War. The Tibetan considers as the World War, so he considers it as one war. So it was almost supposed to be sealed, but it wasn't. It wasn't because of greed and because of selfishness, and because it just wasn't. So that slight opening has allowed evil in its various forms. And what is evil? Evil is the lack of love. That's what evil is. It's orientation towards materiality, density, and that lacks light and it lacks love. So greed, and there's so much of that around, I don't have to tell you, right? It's all over. Just look at the banking system. Just look at what the countries are doing to one another. That kind of greed is growing, and there are people that are manipulating. They're manipulating humanity so that the forces of darkness, which is the evil that we're talking about, have a foothold on humanity. And the only way that that will change is if more and more people recognize that they are souls, that that light is within them, and that they are divine beings. As long as they are veiled by their personality and the need for more, whatever the more is, of the material world, the more they don't allow the light of who they are to shine through. I used to use the example many years ago, and I talked about this, is that we think of ourselves as a box without any windows, a fairly dense box. But in that box there is this light. Well, this light can't shine if the box is dense, if the box is thick and concrete. Well, as we start to peel the layers off, and how do we do that? We do that through character building. And that's all before, part of the probationary path that you are all maybe learning about or will be learning about. Through the probationary path, we start purifying our physical, emotional, and mental bodies through developing right behavior, staying, with the good, the true, and the beautiful. And as character changes, that light starts to come through because the box or the thickness becomes more translucent, and that light starts to shine through. And as we shine that light through, we touch other people through that light. The more light that we radiate, and what is light if not love, the more the whole planet becomes lit with this light. So when will evil change? We are told that with the incoming energies of the age of Aquarius, we will, in many thousands of years, know what true brotherhood is. That is the next step forward for all of humanity. But that can only happen if we all work on this. Now, it becomes a chain reaction. As each one of us changes and we become more loving and more helping and kinder and more compassionate in whatever field, whatever endeavor, whatever the ray of the soul, it matters not. If that comes through our personality, we cannot help but affect other people. And as we do this with others, then they may change, you see. And as the greater percentage of humanity changes, that materiality, those forces of darkness are pushed back. We are told that humanity is on the brink of the first initiation. What does that mean? What's that first initiation? The first initiation is the Christ child, or the soul consciousness being born in the cave of the heart. Right? That's what the sign Virgo is all about, being born in the cave of the heart. Virgo represents virgin, which is purity, and the purity of the gestation period that we work on ourselves so that that consciousness, that soul, can be born. It also means that we recognize that we are more than our bodies. We are more than this material form that so many of us are identified with and as. There's much more to us than this material form. So the more we recognize that we are the soul, and we are that light, and we are that divinity, the world changes. And as it changes, evil is pushed back. Evil is pushed out. It is the door, it's pushed back through that opening Does that mean there'll never be evil again? No, it doesn't mean that at all, because evil exists on all different planes, cosmic evil and so on and so forth. But at least in our world, in our humanity will change. Now, just so that I can back up again, 2025 is supposed to be a very important time. It's supposed to really, every 25 years or so of the beginning of a century is when there's a conclave and hierarchy and Shambhala, and they set the new plans for the future. So 2025 is a very important time, and humanity is meant to be stepping forward, and we have to get our act together. We don't have that many years left, really. We are now the forerunners, because humanity is on the brink of that brotherhood, that love, that first initiation. And if the critical mass can get this, then yeah, humanity will undergo, and the whole planet will be lighted more. And if that's the case, Asha, I assure you that the evil that we know now will be so much more diminished, so much more. Yeah?
Yeah,
does that help?
Yes, thank you. I mean, I've heard and read that it's like many millions of years away, and then I hear that it's actually, it could possibly be near. I wonder about the free will aspect of it, and then I wonder about the body of knowledge from Alice Bailey that was written at that time. The energies change, dispensations are granted, and so it could happen exponentially. I mean, there's change, and change. It could happen faster. And how would we definitively know when it has happened?
Do you not know when you are in the presence of someone that is a very fairly evolved being? Do you sense that when you've been in their presence?
Yes.
And what is it that you sense about that?
I can't quantify it, but it's more of an intuitive feeling. But you know, I don't feel advanced enough to say it definitively. I would come to someone like you or Michael, or you know, that's exactly why I'm asking. Is, you know, Alice Bailey's no longer around, and you know, I've been in communities, I've been with people, and when I read literature or hear a piece of music, I know what that feels like. But when the door to evil has been sealed, is it like a critical mass we reach, or what? I mean,
so I don't believe for 1 minute that it's one event. And just like you know, when you are in the presence of a highly evolved person, other people know that too. So the more people that have, let's say, undergone the first initiation, because this is what we are looking forward to, the more we will all sense that very same quality that comes through each person that has undergone that. You are in the presence, you see it in their eyes, you see the light in their eyes, you see it in their behavior, you sense it, like you said, intuitively. It's probably a heart-to-heart quality that you sense. And
but on a planetary level, does the Tibetans say that there's a certain time and day it will happen? Is there free will? Are we doing all this work knowing that it will transpire on a certain day, or is there free will in the choices of how the outcome?
No and yes. No, there's not a specific date, and yes, there is free will. And that's the whole thing. It's the free will. How many people know that they need to work on themselves and they don't? It's hard work. Change is never easy. How many people recognize that? I would say a great number of people know that they need to put in work to change. And how many people, you know, they don't want to. They want to refer back to the old because that's the comfort level. Change is always scary.
This is all part of the creation that we have, that this is the evolution of the soul. This is what is meant to happen as humanity goes through the various cycles. So yes, we have free will, but it's quite structured and known, isn't it, really?
Well, I don't know how many people actually know that
if the Tibetan seems to indicate, I mean, I've read the Tibetan the way you have, but I get the sense that it's indicated in the books that there is a certain time that this will happen.
Again, could it be during the age of Aquarius? Could it be later? I have not come away with a specific on anything. I just know that that is, we are the forerunners, right? Just like in history. We are the forerunners of when that Christ principle is supposed to land here on earth amongst humanity. Will we know that when, if and when the Christ arrives, because it's Lord Maitreya in whatever form he or she may show up, will we have the ability to recognize that living light? You know, and we can only recognize that if we can resonate to it. If we are thick and concrete and don't even recognize our own light, will we see the light in another person? And the more light that there is, the whole planet will be lit. All you have to do is fly in an airplane and see how the light shines from every country that is fairly, you know, advanced humanity. The amount of light that we emit has so much to do with where we are on the plan, on our path. And we as a humanity are growing, we're evolving. There's always new things to help one another. Yeah, I would say we always go 2 steps forward, maybe 1 step back, because there's so many people that don't want to move forward, but a lot of them do know the need for it.
Thank you.
I don't know, Jocelyne, if you have other thoughts on this or you want to add to this, please do.
Oh, well, I'm thinking about our astrological chart, you know, and predestination and so on. We have free will, so the history of humanity is not predetermined in terms of specific time frames, because we can, through our will, accelerate it or delay it. So our astrological chart, for example, shows our innate tendencies, our talents, and some challenges that we have. And if we use our will to optimize the positive aspects of our chart, then we will live the positive plan that we can see in the natal chart. And the reverse, if we decide to not use our talents and this way delay our development. So I think at the humanity level, it's the same idea. There are tendencies, there are cycles, there are influences that are moving humanity in such and such a way, but at the end of the day, it is humanity that will determine how soon the changeover takes place based on all the wonderful things that you talked about, Eva.
It's always a choice. There's always this interlude, this Libra interlude, and Libra's all about choice. We always have a choice. It doesn't matter at what level, there's always the choice. And it isn't until after the 3rd initiation, which means there's 75% lighted, because each initiation represents 25% until you get to the 4th, and at the 4th, the causal body, this causal body is destroyed, and all the wisdom and all the treasures that we have gathered is now transferred to the spiritual triad and is part of the personality. So it's very easy to assign 25% to each of these 4 initiations. So it isn't until the 3rd initiation when we are 75% lighted, evolved, having soul infused through our matters, that the Tibetan can honestly say he now knows you will not turn back. You know, not go back to the old. So it's quite a long ways away, that 3rd initiation, you know. So all the time, up until that point, we have choices. We have choices. After the 3rd initiation, it's almost like your purpose becomes the greater purpose. You are privy to the higher deity, and so your purpose sort of merges more with the higher purpose. But up to that point, we always have choice. We have free will and we have choice. Good or bad, I don't know. Sometimes it's for good and sometimes it's not, but the free choice is always there.
No, thank you. I realize the important focus for us as students needs to be on the purification and cleansing. But I was surprised when you said earlier in the answer that cosmic evil exists in other dimensions. I'm not sure I don't want to hog any more time or even focus on it, but that surprised me. I thought it was something that humanity had the free will and misused it, and therefore evil came from that. It's simplistically said. So you're saying it exists on other dimensions too?
And that's something we don't have to even put into our head consciousness, our brain consciousness, because it's way beyond our understanding. I just know that cosmic evil does exist. And hierarchy, Shambhala, they need to deal with that, not us. We can deal with the evil that we see that manifested here on earth. That we can understand. That we can deal with. Anything above and beyond that, we don't have the capacity to even comprehend. Okay? So
I've unmuted Adrian. She has a question. Another question.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. Adrian.
Well, hi there, thank you. Again, it's so nice to be in a group discussing these things. I don't get that in my day-to-day life. Another bit of my question is about another sentence in the Great Invocation which I struggle with. The last sentence that says, "Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth." I struggle with that word, restore. I feel like it's saying, well, we've already screwed it up. I don't find it very inspiring. I'd rather know we're just struggling along the path. And yeah, so I'd like your thoughts on that so that I don't end up constantly struggling with that word.
Those are good points, you know. I think I'll just use a certain period in time. I think when the Christ walked amongst humanity, he brought the plan to humanity, the plan of light, the plan of love, and the plan of power. And yeah, we screwed up.
We did.
Another way to look at it. So he brought that, and with that bringing, with that, how do I say, that energy, that power, that the Christ, and I'm not referring to Jesus, I'm referring to the Christ, and those of you who may have read the Blue Books know that there was a parallel kind of existence through Jesus being a disciple and Christ being the Lord Maitreya, the representative of the love aspect, and used the Christ to teach humanity, to offer humanity all that he did. The matters of the earth changed. The matters of the earth became much more resilient to love, and the vibration and the frequency that happened during that period of time is compared to none since, none up to that point and since. So the plan was there, and yeah, we as a humanity, we screwed up. It's that simply. So now we need to restore, and it is said in the Blue Books that the Christ shall return. And again, are we going to be ready? Are we going to have the frequency, the vibration, just to use other words than I used before, to recognize, and who knows how the Christ shall return? Will it be in the form of a person? Will it be a woman? Will it be just an energy? Who knows? You know, the books refer to a being, a person, who will not be born in a Jewish body. That is made very clear. But you know, different people have different thoughts on it. I'm just putting it out to you. The Christ shall return, and we know that. You know, it's said in the Great Invocation, and the plan will be restored yet again, and hopefully humanity will be able to deal with it and handle it. That's why we are the forerunners, so that when that time comes, we'll be ready.
Yeah, that's something I've always struggled with when I've heard the Christ will return or the world teacher will come or whatever. I just thought, well, how are we going to know? How am I going to recognize that so that I can
Well, all those things, all the things that we've talked about, how are we going to recognize it? Well, you recognize it by resonance. And those that aren't going to be able to recognize this because they don't have yet any soul influence through them. Because, you know, it's like music resonates, keys and notes, they resonate to sound that is similar. It causes a chain reaction. It's going to be the same thing here. I asked Asha, when you are in the presence of someone that's fairly evolved, do you sense that? Yeah. And what is it about them that you sense? I mean, try to articulate it in your own head. I mean, I'm not looking for an answer, but articulate that to yourself. What is it that you sense about the person? Well, it's that thing multiplied and multiplied and multiplied that will be sort of coming down here for us. And are we going to have the tools? Are we going to have the you know, the cell frequency to recognize that? We will if we work on this, you see.
That's very helpful, thank you.
Okay.
I'll put my hand down.
Okay.
Yvonne has her hand up, and then Vera.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Hi, Yvonne. Oops, I muted you when somebody unmuted you. I'm sorry. Hi, Yvonne.
How are
Yvonne.
you? I have a question. You just mentioned you just mentioned that the Christ will not come back in a Jewish body, and I was just curious why or what kind of body will he have, or where's that come from? That he's not.
Well, it's actually in the blue books. Why is he not going to come back in a Jewish body? Because the Jewish people didn't accept him. Right? They didn't see him as the Christ. So they literally screwed up.
Okay.
So he's not going to do that again.
Okay.
I'm just repeating what the books say, you know. He's not going to come back in a Jewish body. He'd been there, done that, you know.
What about the rumor that he's alive and well in London?
I don't know. Does the world sense? Does those that are evolved, do they sense? Do they feel? Is the world somewhat changed? I don't think we're ready yet.
No, I don't either.
And there might be. Now, listen. There might be a fairly evolved person. You know. I mean, who denies that? There are a lot of evolved people. Look at Mandela. I mean, look at some of these wonderful representatives that we've had of highly evolved people here on Earth. You know. And maybe London right now has somebody. I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of it.
I'm wondering about restore the plan on Earth. If it was like the moon chain. Humanity failed because of the sin of compassion or something. Was that this Mount Earth chain is going to restore the plan, or was this from the different civilizations, like, you know, from Lemuria and all that failed? Which plan are we restoring?
I think I don't think during the time of the moon chain that humanity was sufficiently evolved that the plan existed then. The way it can now, so I don't think it refers back to the moon chain. I think the moon chain did not have individualization as we have on the Earth chain, and therefore those that were undergoing any kind of initiation, it was such a slow, and we think we're slow, evolutionary process that the highest level that anyone reached was the Buddha, because the Buddha came from the moon chain. Yeah. So he was the highest that humanity was able to reach there. So
is it true that 15% of humanity is moon chain?
They say that a great number. I don't have the exact statistics, but they say a great majority of humanity has come from the moon chain. Yeah, it's actually, I'm trying to think which book it is. It's EP, I believe.
And I always wondered about that 15% because 15% of humanity is also Rh negative, if that had anything to do with it. Just
interesting.
Curious.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And then we have Vera.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Vera.
Yes, hello. I have a question from esoteric astrology. constellations, signs, and each sign has a ruler, a sign ruler, exoteric and esoteric. And to my surprise, when I was, for example, looking at the constellation of Cancer, so the ruler of the Cancer is exoteric is the Moon, 4th ray, esoteric ruler Neptune, 6th ray, yet the Cancer itself is transmitting 3rd and 7th ray. And so what influence and when is major, say, on the journey of some on the past, say the ordinary average person or the discipleship? Are the rulers which are the main influence, or when the sign itself, its influence really kicks in?
Okay, those are really good questions. Let's break this down. The three luminaries, which are the moon, the sun sign, and your ascendant, are the real ones to look at in terms of the sign that they represent. You can't get away from the energies that is attributed to the sign of those three luminaries. So, for example, if you are a Libra sun, you are going to demonstrate Libran qualities, without a doubt. If you're a Taurian sun, you're going to do the same thing. So the signs as applied to these three luminaries play a very important role. Now their ruler, what we see with the ruler is where in the chart they are positioned and what effect, what relationships they have with other planets. So that's how we would look at the various rulers. And the energy of the rulers do play an important role in how we behave. Okay? Now, the average person is only ruled by the exoteric ruler, the ruler that most of astrology out there talks about. It isn't until one is treading the path, has already soul influence, that the esoteric ruler begins to have an effect. And then we start to see in the chart and to interpret how it might manifest itself. Doesn't change the fact that the sun sign still demonstrates the qualities of that particular sun sign. Again, like everything else that we have said, how we appropriate, how we take in those qualities, those energies, will depend on where we're at, right? Sometimes we call them strengths, sometimes we call them weaknesses, or we can say those are the positive qualities versus the negative qualities. But then we look at the planets that are ruled, that are the rulers of the sign, whether it's the moon, and in every case, if it's just an ordinary person, you would look at it as the moon. But if you're dealing with a disciple or an aspirant that is on the path, you would know then that the moon veils, the sun and the moon veil, which means that behind them is represented a different planet, because after all, the sun and the moon are not planets, veils Neptune. So you would have two positions, two ways of looking at Neptune. One where the moon is, and the other thing is Neptune itself. So you would know that that person with a Cancer sun is very much influenced by Neptune. Do you see how I would work with it?
Yes.
And the same thing applies to other signs. The qualities of the sign, or the characteristics is a better word, because quality gives us an idea that it's all positive. But the characteristics of the sign are a huge list, just like the characteristics of a ray. There's a huge list, and no one person displays all those characteristics. We hook into certain characteristics, and that's what we display. Again, as we transform ourselves, as we change, as we recognize our weaknesses, we can transform those weaknesses to something positive, to strengths. And we do that by knowing the possibilities, knowing where we can go with that.
Yeah. So, yeah, so the rulers are mainly pertaining to how that is manifested, how we go about it in the world.
Right. It is said that the signs are the what, and the planets are the how.
Ah, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, everybody else, come on, come on, come on. Who else? Oh, Malia. Okay, Malia, hi.
Hi, Eva. I have a question that takes us back to the Great Invocation again, and that has nothing to do with the content of the Great Invocation, but in my training as an esoteric minister, we were taught that as we begin our spiritual work, we do an invocation. So at the beginning of service or whatever, we invoke the energies that we want to assist us and strengthen what we're doing. And in every esoteric group I've ever been part of, we do the Great Invocation at the end of whatever we're doing. And I don't get it. So I'm wondering if you or anybody else has any insight on that.
Right off the top of my head, I haven't thought of it in that way. So that poses an interesting question. The only thing I can think of is that this Great Invocation stands alone. It is can be considered a prayer. It is to invoke all three aspects of deity, and it's a good way to end any kind of discussion or any kind of meditation that one has, that you're invoking these energies to land here on Earth. So it's not a personal invocation. It has a much larger overtone.
Well, I have it in terms of supporting the work that the group has come together to do. Invoking the energies to support the work as we work, not as a personal thing, but as a service that we are performing.
Well, I'm not too sure what else to say on that. Jocelyne, do you have any thoughts? Anybody? Put your hand up if you have thoughts on this. This is open discussion. I really don't know what to say to that. Eva?
It would seem to me that saying the Great Invocation at the front end to invoke the powers of light, love, and power for what we are about to do is a marvelous idea.
Okay. And I think BL, you had something to say?
Yes, I agree with Jocelyne, and actually in some of the meditations that DK gives or that we've performed, we actually see the Great Invocation done several times in one meditation, one of the longer meditations. But the point that I would like to make is I see it both as the standalone, like you mentioned, Eva. It's this Great Invocation that is being used in the triangles as just an invocation in itself, that are done worldwide. But I also see it at the end of the meditations as a solidifying force. This is the work that we've done, so be it. This is how we want it to work out. So that's the way I've always viewed it.
Right. It's almost like an amen that people say at the very end, so be it, And in my mind, without articulating it and thinking about it, I kind of fall into that category too. But I know maybe it's a personal thing, and if people have the desire to say it more than once, then why not?
I had one other comment. At the end of the first stanza of the Great Invocation, it says, "So let it be, and help us to do our part." And I usually add that at the end, just for that reason. Michael did it at the years and years ago when we were doing the EP Master's program in Ontario. and it stuck with me, and it comes back, and I use it quite a bit. I just throw that in for maybe anchoring it in our own hearts as well as the global impact of it.
Right.
Yeah, I do that too. It's a statement of responsibility that having invoked, it is now our responsibility to evoke as transmitters of what has been received. So Amelia, I think that anchoring the invocation with "let us do our part," I think is a very powerful thing to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for adding that.
Okay. Eva?
Yes.
This is Joe.
Yes.
Adrian has a question about the Gayatri.
Okay. Let me unmute. Okay, Adrian, fire away.
Hello, Eva, again. Thank you. I'm, as ever, full of questions. In the structure of the meditations that we're doing, I see and do recite the Gayatri mantra, which I'm delighted by. I love it. And I believe the Lucius Trust folk do that too. And I'm just wondering what the purpose is of doing that, apart from the fact to make me happy.
Now, you do it with the English translation, right?
I do both. I know
you do both. Now, you will see that the wording of the Gayatri, although it is a prayer that is said in I think it's a Hindu prayer, or is it more universal? I don't know. But it is a prayer that brings in the larger seeing deity as the sun, seeing deity as the sun, which for our intents and purposes it is the sun. And it's just another invocation in a way, saying the Gayatri. It really raises one's vibration, and it puts you in touch with the humility that we all have as we look to this great, great living light that the sun is. O thou who givest sustenance to the universe, which is deity itself, for whom all things exist. I wonder if I remember all the words. It's been so many years since I've said it. To whom all things return, unveil to us the face of the true spiritual sun. What is the true spiritual sun? You can ask yourself that. Unveil to us the face of the true spiritual sun. Help me out here.
That's a question for BL.
You did to me the face of the true spiritual sun.
Hidden by the disk of golden light.
That's right. Hidden by the disk of golden light. Exactly.
That we may know the truth and do our whole duty as we journey to thy sacred feet.
Okay, so, as we learn more of what the Tibetan teaches us, he will teach us that there is the physical sun, there is the heart of the sun, and there's the true spiritual sun. And here, it actually says that. Hidden by a disk of golden light. So it's for each and every one of us to come to terms with what are these various levels of these levels. That's it, said simply. What are these different levels of the sun? What is the different levels of our deity? As we see the sun, we see the physical sun. Well, there's a lot more to the deity whose physical form is the sun. Just like as when we look at each one of us, we see the form. There's a lot more to us than the physical form. Yeah. We know we are soul and we know we are spirit. Same thing with the sun. Sun is a physical form, there is a soul, and there is spirit.
Yeah.
And so this particular Gayatri actually causes us to think about that, I think. Please, guys, if you have anything to add to that, BL,
Well, I just want to put a plug in for our meditation quest. We do have, I think it's the third lesson in the meditation quest program that goes into the meaning of the Gayatri. And there are also, when we were designing that, we did a lot of research on everything. And it kind of means all things to all people in different ways. And I found some very interesting interpretations of it, some of which were on Wikipedia. So it's just a very good and a very ancient prayer that carries with it, you know, the essence of us understanding our true nature and understanding the nature of the Son of God, of
the interesting thing is...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go, you finish. I'm sorry.
Well, that was it. I was just finding a word of the great being that whom we live and breathe and have our being.
You mentioned something that's very, very critical here that I really hadn't given too much thought to, and that this is an ancient prayer. It was written well before the Tibetan ever gave us the Great Invocation, and yet it covers really the same aspects of the three aspects of deity. So the truism of it comes through. It doesn't matter how we clothe and how we word things. We look at the essence of it, and it's the essence of the Gayatri that is very, very similar to the three aspects of deity that we learn as we say the Great Invocation or any other thing that the Tibetan has written us, you know, and we made reference to.
Yeah, yeah.
I would add that in the original language, this prayer is very powerful in terms of the sound, in terms of its note, that it creates a resonance with some very high and beneficent energies in the universe. So it's powerful in the sense of the sound that it emits and the vibration that it creates.
You know, in the 90s, and I don't remember what year it was when I was doing the PhD with Michael in California, 5.5 years, every single day, we had to sing this, and we had to sing it in its language, whatever, if it's Sanskrit or whatever language it was. The tune is still in my head, you know, and it's been so long since I heard it. And I used to, every Wesak, if I had Wesak on my own, I would just sing the song, because it just, like you say, the vibration, it just fills your body. You know, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I think I had a recording at one time when it was on tapes that never got, transferred onto disc. So I have not heard it in a long time. So yeah, that's thank you for mentioning that.
There's a lovely recording of it by, I've got what's this? A little, not on tape, on a CD. That's the word, by Hein Bratt, which is really beautiful. So.
Om Bhur Bhuvat Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devaswati Mahi Dionam, whatever, I can't remember all of it. But anyway, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. You just brought it back for me. It was just terrific. Terrific. It made my day. Really. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Vera, your hand is up. Unmute. Vera. Is your hand up, Vera?
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay.
No.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else they want to say? Alex. Hello, Alex, again.
2 questions. Hi. Hello again.
Hello.
Thanks to everyone for the questions. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
Yes.
So good. This is gripping. I'm really sorry it has to end. Like Adrian said, you don't get to have these conversations very often. I've got 2 questions. One is about evil, and the other is about the Christ. Which one should I go for?
I always go for the Christ.
Okay. We were asked on our study report about aspirants, disciples, initiates, and so forth. And so I was looking at hierarchy, trying to understand. I've got this diagram from Initiations, Human and Solar, of the planetary hierarchy, and I'm trying to understand who is the Christ. I know who Jesus Christ is. I understand Christ overshadowed Jesus. And it says here Christ is the Bodhisattva, the world teacher. there's a lot of mention of Christ, and I just wondered if you would speak about.
You know, it's a good question. The term Christ is a very touchy. It's a very touchy word, and over the years, you know, I used to run a center here, and we used to get all kinds of people from different backgrounds, and we had to be very careful with the word Christ because it has different meanings for different people. You know, there was the historical Christ, and the historical Christ represented Jesus. Right? Then there is, from an esoteric perspective, there is the Christ as we understand, the one that overshadowed the historical Christ Jesus. Then there's also the Christ principle, which is above and beyond a person, right? So, and then there's the cosmic Christ. So there's Christ represented on so many different levels. The Christ that is what we refer to esoterically, the one that overshadowed Jesus, was, we call the Lord Maitreya, or the Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is a Sanskrit word representing the post, the position, the job of the second principle, which is the love principle. So the Bodhisattva, you got the three principles represented. You've got the Mahachohan, you got the Bodhisattva, and you have the Lord of the World. So the Mahachohan represents the first aspect of deity. But these are all reflections. It's all stepped down, right? And then in hierarchy. Then you have the Bodhisattva that represents the love principle, or the consciousness aspect. And then you have the Lord of the World that represents the third aspect, which is intelligence and form, or materiality, or matter. That's a better word, matter. So you have these three aspects. So the Bodhisattva is a position, and we are told that Lord Maitreya eventually will move into higher levels, and there will be someone else, a different representative, taking that post other than Lord Maitreya, who will still be the Bodhisattva and will still be the representative of this Christ principle, which is love. Okay, and it's called the Christ principle because it was the Christ that brought it to humanity for the very first time when he walked here on earth. Okay, he actually filled, as I said, he filled the cells of the earth, and he filled everything with a quality that is consciousness that didn't exist before.
Right.
And I wish I had the reference to it. It's somewhere in the blue books. So he brought this energy, that consciousness that was never there before to, it's almost, you know how you see these pictures that not pictures, these movies where you see this light flashing out all over the world. I almost, in my own mind, envision it that way, that he brought this light, this energy that filled earth, filled the aura of the earth with this quality of light and love. So that's that. Then there is the Christ
Are you
principle.
speaking of Jesus? Are you speaking of Jesus?
No, I'm speaking of the Christ.
Okay.
Jesus went through his own initiations, and I think he went up to the fifth initiation, or I think when he was on the cross he went through the fourth initiation, while the Christ went through his, I don't remember, BL or Jocelyne? The sixth. I didn't know if that was a Gethsemane or not. But anyway, he went through his sixth while on the cross. So there was a parallel. There was a paralleling in the initiations.
Right.
Okay. And we don't know if it happened at around the age of 13 when he said something that is written in the book so often, Father, what? I don't know. I can't remember. I'm not good at this. I'm sorry. But he overshadowed Jesus. Jesus at the same time sort of stepped aside, but went through his own growth. So now let's move on to the Christ principle. The Christ principle is the very, very quality of consciousness, of soul, that we constantly talk about. So it becomes a principle. Okay, it's not necessarily the person himself. It's the principle that Bodhisattva represents. Okay?
Right.
And then there is the cosmic Christ, which is still the same principle, but on a much, much higher level. You know, interstellar, you know, from one system to another. That principle still exists. So you get into the idea of cosmic Christ. So Christ, every step of the way, represents the love aspect.
Okay. I was wondering what was meant by Christ principle. That's so good, the way you said that it's the word. It covers a lot of areas. And we had in our seed thought, the Om is the Christ principle in us. And that was one of my questions, is, you know, what is the Christ principle? And is the Christ principle the causal body? And you just said it's the light of the soul.
It's the causal body is just that. It's a body. It's a house that holds within it the amount of light and the soul that you are. Okay, it's held together through the quality of the solar angel, and it's the solar angel that, for all intents and purposes, until we reach the fourth initiation, represents our soul, because it's the solar angel that sort of radiates its love and its energy to us.
So
and after a while, we become almost filled with the quality of soul that we don't need the solar angel to represent soul anymore. We are now the soul that we are. It's come through. See?
So the causal body houses the soul?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the soul is the Christ principle.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Within the Christ principle, within the causal body, you still have the three aspects of deity. You know, within the causal body, because soul is omnipotent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Did I say it right? Omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. So you have soul is will, soul is love, and soul is intelligence. All those three are represented in soul in consciousness, which is housed within the causal body. Or the egoic lotus. The egoic lotus and causal body are synonymous terms.
Oh, okay. And so the Christ, as the world teacher, is an office. Is that right?
That's right. And right now is still Lord Maitreya, who represents the post, the position, who is standing there in that position. It's Lord Maitreya, who is the Bodhisattva right now. And he is the master of all humanity, of all masters and angels alike. So you can imagine what a position this is.
Okay. So Christ is the world teacher, but Sanat Kumara is Lord of the world.
That's right.
Right?
Right. So it's even a higher level.
It's even higher.
It's even a higher level. See, the Sanat Kumara represents the life that ensouls our planet. Okay?
Yes, he's our planetary logos.
Yeah, it's like the deity, you know, the deity that ensouls not just the physical form of the planet, it's just a physical body, but ensouls the life of our planet.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And then, of course, the Sanat Kumara has an entourage, an entourage of other high beings that surround him. You see, there's different people, different beings that surround Sanat Kumara, his council, and his other lords that are there with him. You know, that may have come from other planets or whatever, that are there with him and help him out. But he is the Lord of the world. He is the Lord of our world.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot to take in. You guys, this is early stages of learning. You will learn all of this. If you really want to know, I promise you, it's all there. You will learn it.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's the God or the Lord of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the planet of the planetary life. Life, because the planet tends to make us think of our physical planet.
Yeah,
and it's just a physical body, right? It's just a physical body, no different than your physical body. Is just you are a lot more than your body.
Okay, So when we say the planet is going through an initiation, is that Sanat Kumara that's going through the initiation, or is it the physical Earth that's going through the
Well, that's another good question. It's humanity that's going through initiation, and humanity are cells within the body of our planetary logos. So just like you have cells within your body, the planet has cells, and we, humanity, are its cells. So if we get healthier, if a human being gets healthier, it represents the way that the human being is, right? Healthy, robust, energetic, and so on. Well, if humanity gets healthier and purer and more alighted, then that will reflect upward to the planetary life, and he, she, whatever, will also its body will definitely be of a higher frequency, okay? And that will help him, her, to prepare for her initiation.
Right.
Whatever level he, she is going to need to go through.
And where does the physical planet Earth fit into that? If we're the cells in the planetary logos, what is the Earth?
The Earth is just a physical manifestation. It's just a physical form. It's the dense of our Earth.
Okay.
It's the dense physical body, so to speak. Just like the sun is the dense
planetary logos.
Yeah. Just like the sun is the dense physical body of the solar logos.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah?
Yes. Okay. So when I often say, I often quote to my children from the Gita, it says, "No effort is ever lost." And this keeps coming up through all the questions people have asked about evil and what's going to happen. Am I correct in thinking that every effort we make is contributing to...
It depends what the effort is toward. Is the effort for more aggrandizement? Is the effort
every spiritual effort.
That's right. Because it's all cumulative. It's all cumulative.
Yes.
It's cumulative. Whatever you gain, all the wonderful treasures that you have gained, all the insights, all the knowledge, all the love, all the power that you've learned to stand in, all of that is stored. All of that is stored within the causal body. And then in your next incarnation, you come in with all those gifts as part of who you are. And you build on the new you. So you build more into yourself on all levels, and that then is stored for your next incarnation. So no effort is lost.
That's wonderful, isn't it? And but also it's helping others. Your efforts are helping others. Is that
right? As soon as it's like a chain,
Yeah.
As I said, the more evolved you become, the more you behave in a particular way. And as you behave in a particular way, you affect others.
Yes.
If you're loving and kind to other people, well, then you're not an angry person, and you're not bitter, and you're not losing control. Well, that has a ripple effect.
I think that's very inspiring for young people. Well, it's inspiring for anyone, but it's an inspiring thing to teach young people that, because we tend to think that, what we do doesn't matter, and we tend to believe in insignificance, but I believe in the significance of every moment. So.
Because we're not identified yet with who we are.
Yeah.
We're still identified with our form, which is our personality. I want to ask the group something. Okay, you're very welcome. I want to ask the group something. We have reserved February the 8th, same time, same place. It's 2 weeks away. So I want to ask the group, what would you prefer that we do February the 8th? do you prefer another question and answer period like this, or would you prefer to have a teaching on a particular subject that we know, you all need to learn, you can, know it more and so on. So I'm going to remove all the, I know we're going to get a cacophony of noise, but I'm going to remove all the mute, and I'd like to have an idea of, okay guys, why can't I remove this? My helpers can, what am I doing wrong? Hello?
I think maybe it would be best if you unmuted people one at a time.
Okay. Okay. So, I think Jocelyne had to go. She told me she had a date, so to speak, a specified time. She had to leave, so I'm going to just check. Jocelyne, are you still there?
Oops.
No. And that's why the screen is dark. That's okay. So, Alex.
I unmuted Adrian.
Okay, Adrian, sorry. What would you prefer to see next?
Okay, I'm aware that I've asked a lot more questions than most of us. It depends really what the teaching's on. So I'd quite like a number of options to choose from, rather than just say yes and then end up with.
Okay.
Not relevant right now to me.
Remember, it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks away. All right. So that's Adrian. Alex, how about you?
I'm happy with either, but I'm a question and answer person. I like questions.
Okay.
But
okay. So Inta, what would you like to see?
Inta is on self-mute.
Eva, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to leave.
I know you do, and I told the group that you did. So thank you very much for all your input. Very much appreciated. So thank you very much for all your input. See the echo? That's okay. So I'll speak to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.
She's the presenter. We need to change the presenter back to somebody, one of the organizers.
I didn't want to sign off in case I did something to the webinar.
So can you change Eva back over to presenter?
Okay. While they're doing that, guys, you can still hear me, right? So let's move through this. Okay. Alex, you do either. How about Inta? Can you unmute yourself, Inta? Okay. So.
Okay, I see you, Eva. So that means the transfer is done.
Thank you very much, Jocelyne.
Okay. Done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jocelyne. Okay. Let me get rid of this. So, let me see who else. Let me see who else. Inta, are you with us? Inta, are you with us? I've lost the microphone on everybody's name, so I don't know. And it's echoing, so.
Linda is next.
Inta's next.
Yes.
Linda.
How about Linda? I can't unmute anybody, so you'll have to do that. What would you like to see in 2 weeks' time?
Another Q&A.
Okay. Good. That was clear. Is Mary Bell there?
Yeah.
And Malia?
I kind of like this. If there's a larger group, we'll have even more questions.
Okay. And Michael?
The Q&A is good, but I would be attending late because I'm going to another conference that runs from 9 until 4.
Okay. Well, you do the best to come. Whenever you can, you know, I'm sure you'll get something out of it.
Okay, thank you.
And we would welcome you. And Ray is after that. Ray?
Hello, Eva.
Hi.
I'll go with either, really, but I think I'd prefer teaching. I tend to quite like taking notes and then pondering on things over, mulling them over, really.
Okay.
But that's just me. But I'll go with the flow.
I appreciate you being here. Thank you. And Vera?
Yes, I would prefer teaching.
You prefer teaching.
Yeah.
And Walter, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Walter.
Hello. I also vote for a teaching because many teachings also have a lot of Q&A with them, so it could have the advantages of a Q&A but directed around a particular topic, which might be positive.
Well, I'm going to ask Yvonne, and then I want to tell you the group what our plan was. Yvonne, go ahead.
I would prefer the teaching. Like somebody said, there's questions with it, and I'd like to know, since your specialty is ray teaching, what's new with the rays?
Rays don't change all that much.
They don't change, but our understanding of them changes.
That's true. What Jocelyne and I did is we prepared a teaching for today because we didn't know how long, how many questions there were going to be and how many people would actually have questions. So we came prepared. One of the things that we were going to offer was something about esoteric schools. So we were going to do a little teaching on that, and then we were going to talk a little bit about the Antikarana. Is that something that you all would be interested in? On the other subject I thought we could do a little teaching on was karma, because there's so many things misunderstood about karma. So again, I need to have a sense of what you would like to see. I would unmute everybody at the same time, Joe. I know you don't want to go for that, but let's do that.
Sounds good, Eva.
Which one?
What you just said.
Yeah, but I can't do all three in one session, so it's...
I don't care, any of them.
Any teaching. Okay. Just wanted to get a sense of where the group is at, so I appreciate all of you being here. So thank you all very much, and why don't we all, if you're all unmuted, why don't we all say one Om together, okay, as our goodbye. Okay, guys, thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Farewell.
Bye.